The skies turned red when the alien warships came. No one had expected it. The world had just started rebuilding after the last conflict. Cities were healing, farms were growing again, and people were finally laughing. But everything changed. In one night, Captain Elias Cole was stationed at Outpost 9, a quiet border station near the ruins of the old world. He was not a hero. He didn't care about medals or missions. All he wanted was peace, maybe a farm of his own someday. But when the sirens screamed and the sky lit up with enemy fire, Elias didn't hesitate. He grabbed his rifle and led his unit straight into the fire. The enemy wasn't human. They looked like beasts, tall, strong, with fur, tails, and glowing eyes. But they weren't monsters. Not all of them, at least. Some looked scared. Some were forced to fight. Elias saw it himself. One of the beast-like females, chained and pushed into battle, refused to shoot. She got beaten by her own commander. That moment stayed in Elias's mind, even as the war dragged on for weeks. The humans won that battle, but not the war. The aliens vanished after stealing technology, food, and some prisoners, including both humans and their own kind. And then, silence. 3 months later, Elias walked through the black market district of Andros Station. It was a dirty place, full of scavengers, bounty hunters, and traders. He hated it, but his mission was clear: find the stolen tech, trace the source, and return with evidence. But what he found instead, he was not ready for. The auction hall was filled with noise buyers shouting, sellers laughing, creatures in, chains being sold like animals. Elias wanted to walk away. But then he saw her. She stood on the stone stage, chained at the wrists, her red fur glowing under the lights. Her body was strong, muscular yet feminine, marked with tribal stripes. Her ears twitched with fear, her tail coiled tightly behind her legs. But it was her eyes that stopped Elias cold, large, glowing with gold light, full of pain and defiance. He recognized her. She was the same alien female who had refused to fight during the war. They had beaten her then. Now they were trying to sell her like meat. The announcer shouted in 3 languages. Rare Beastwoman from the Fire Clan. Young, strong, healthy, make your bid now. The crowd cheered. A man in black armor raised his hand. Another buyer offered a crate of gems. The bids rose fast. Elias looked at the girl. Her eyes met his. She didn't beg. She didn't cry. She only stared, like she was ready for whatever pain came next. Something inside Elias burned. He stepped forward, reached into his coat, and threw down a military token, one only issued to war veterans. The room went quiet. Even the announcer paused. Military man bids freedom coin, the announcer said, surprised. That's final. No one outbids a freedom token. The chains were unlocked. The girl stepped down slowly, unsure. She didn't speak. Just looked at Elias with confusion and disbelief. He didn't say much either. You're free now, he said. She kept looking at him. Her hands touched the marks where the chains had been. Then she looked away, as if unsure whether to run or follow him. Elias turned around and walked out. A few seconds later, he heard soft footsteps behind him. She was following. Asterisk. Elias didn't look back as he walked through the alley behind the auction hall. The noise of the market faded behind him, but he could still hear light footsteps following him. He didn't stop. He wanted to give her a choice to walk away or stay, but she didn't run. She kept following. He reached a quiet corner near a fuel depot and finally turned around. The alien girl stopped too, just a few steps behind him. Her red fur was still dusty, and her clothes were torn, but her golden eyes were sharp and alert. You understand me? Elias asked softly. She tilted her head, but didn't answer. Then she slowly raised her hand and touched her chest. Zora, she said. Zora, Elias repeated. I'm Elias. Zura looked around. Her nose twitched. She seemed nervous, but not afraid. Elias opened a small pouch from his belt and pulled out a protein bar. He broke it in half and offered it to her. She didn't take it at first. She sniffed it, then gently reached out and took it with both hands. She ate slowly, like she hadn't eaten in days. Elias leaned against the wall. Why were they selling you? He asked. Zura paused. She pointed to the mark on her arm-burned skin in the shape of a collar. Then she looked away. Slavers? Elias asked. She nodded once. He had seen this before. After battles, some alien warlords captured their own soldiers, especially females, and sold them to human black markets. To them, anyone who disobeyed orders was not worth mercy. You refused to fight, Elias said. I remember. Zura looked at him now, clearly surprised. I was there, he continued. You wouldn't shoot. They hit you. That's when I knew. You weren't the enemy. She stared at him for a long time. Then she did something he didn't expect. She stepped closer, slowly, and knelt in front of him. Her head lowered in. A sign of submission. No, Elias said quickly, gently touching her arm. No need to kneel. You're not a slave. You're not mine. You're free. Zura looked confused. Her eyes searched his face. She seemed unsure of what free really meant. Like it was just a word, not a real thing. Come with me, Elias said. He took her to a safe house, a hidden room he rented whenever he visited. Andrew's station. It wasn't much, just a bed, a table, and a small sink. But it was quiet and away from slavers and spies. Zura sat on the floor, curling her tail around herself. She watched everything. Every move Elias made, every tool on the wall, every sound from outside. He tossed her a blanket. Rest, he said, but Zura didn't sleep. She stayed awake, her eyes half open, one hand still resting near her ankle like she expected chains again. In the morning, Elias found her sitting by the window, staring at the light rising over the domes. She looked peaceful but also sad. Brought her food again. This time she ate without hesitation. I have to go meet someone, he said. Stay here. You'll be safe. Zura stood up fast. Her body tensed like she thought he was leaving her forever. I'll come back, Elias said. Promise. Zura reached out and grabbed his hand, not hard, but firm. She looked into his eyes, then slowly let go. Elias left, but his mind kept. Returning to her. When he returned 2 hours later, the safe house was quiet. The door wasn't broken. Nothing was stolen. Zura was still there. She was asleep, on the bed, curled up under the blanket. For the first time, she looked calm. Elias stood in the doorway and watched her for a moment. Then he sat down nearby and waited. He knew this wasn't the end of the story. He knew someone would come looking for her, but right now, she was safe, and he would fight anyone who tried to change that. Zura woke up before Elias the next morning. He found her crouched near the door, tail flicking, ears alert. She had sensed something long before he did. What is it? He asked, quietly reaching for his weapon. She pointed to the floor. Soft footsteps, fresh dust disturbed. Someone had been near the door during the night, but they hadn't entered. Elias stood up and checked the hallway through a small lens in the wall. Nothing, still. The way Zura watched the shadows made him trust her instincts. She was trained, even if she didn't act like a soldier. Or maybe she used to be one. We have to move, he said. Zura didn't speak, but she nodded. She was beginning to understand his language more, even if she still spoke little. They packed quickly. Elias left a fake data chip on the table, something slavers might steal if they came searching. Then they slipped out the back way. The streets of Andrew's station were always busy, but Elias felt the difference. Too many eyes watched them. Too many strange figures stood still as they passed. Someone knew Zura had been bought with a military freedom token. And that meant trouble. They moved through the old sector past rusted domes, broken elevators, and alleys filled with market. Smoke. Zura kept her hood low, her fur hidden. But it didn't matter. She stood out no matter what she wore. They reached a quiet corner where Elias's old friend Jana ran a repair shop. She was ex-military too, and trusted Elias more than most. Jana looked up from a pile of wires when they entered. "You brought company," she said, eyeing Zura. "She yours?" "No," Elias said firmly. "She's her own, but she needs help." Jana walked over, studying Zura. "Beastwoman. Fire Clan by the stripes. She's rare. Dangerous too." "She saved herself," Elias said. "I just gave her a chance." Jana nodded slowly. "I can hide her for a while. But if the guilds are sniffing around, you need to disappear." "I need an off-grid ship," Elias said. "One that can leave by tonight. That won't be cheap. I'll trade the data chip." Jana raised an eyebrow. "That chip's worth a year's fuel." "What's on it?" "Coordinates. A forgotten site. Nothing military, but valuable." Jana looked at Zura again. "You'd give that up for her?" Elias didn't answer. He didn't need to dodge Jana sighed. "Fine, I'll arrange it." That evening, they returned to the shop's basement. Zura had eaten, rested, and even allowed Jana to scan her old injuries. Scars on her wrists and back told more truth than words ever could. But as they waited, the lights in the hallway flickered. Jana's face changed. "They're here." "Who?" Elias asked. "Slavers. Or Bounty Guild. Maybe both." Zura stood up. Her claws flexed, her golden eyes burning. She didn't look scared this time. Jana handed Elias a small pulse grenade. "You've got one exit service tunnel under the bench. It'll get you to the port warehouse." Zura pulled the hood over her head and stayed close to Elias. He opened the bench hatch, motioned her inside first, then followed and sealed it. Above them, they heard the door slam open. Voices shouted. Someone kicked furniture. But Elias kept crawling forward, hand on his sidearm, heart pounding. The tunnel ended in an old storage room filled with cargo crates. Elias helped Zura climb out, then listened. No footsteps. No alarms, but they weren't safe yet. He turned to Zura. "Can you run?" Zura showed her teeth in a small grin. Then she bolted forward, fast and silent. They slipped past 2 guards, scaled a broken lift shaft, and made it to Dock 14. The ship was already waiting small, beat up, but ready. Elias shoved the doors open and pulled Zura inside. The pilot, an old droid with a dented voice box, beeped angrily. "Unauthorized boarding. Override. Coleco 17, Elias snapped. "Take us up, now." The engines whined. The ship lifted, slowly, then faster. Zura looked through the small window as the city below grew smaller. Her eyes filled with something Elias hadn't seen before. Hope. She turned to him and placed a hand on his chest. "Zura, free?" He smiled, breathing hard. "Yeah, you're free." The ship broke through the clouds and vanished into the stars. Asterisk, the ship flew fast. Through the stars, away from Andra Station. It wasn't fancy. The walls were scratched, the seats old, and the controls beeped too often. But it flew. And that's all Elias needed. Zura sat near the front window, watching space like it was new to her. Maybe it was. Her people had ships. But she had probably never flown in one freely. Her tail curled around her legs as she leaned forward, her golden eyes wide. "Where are we going?" she asked softly. Elias was surprised. It was the first time she asked a full sentence in English. "Outer Belt," he said. "An old moon colony. Empty, quiet, safe. For now." Zura nodded. She didn't smile, but she didn't look afraid either. That was progress. Elias checked the console. Fuel levels were fine, no trackers. No signals behind them. Still, something didn't feel right. He turned to Zura. They'll come after us. The ones who own that auction house. The guilds? Maybe even your own people. Are you ready for that? Zura didn't answer right away. Then she pulled back her sleeve. A long scar ran down her arm, covered in strange markings. Tribal ink almost burned into her skin. She touched it with 2 fingers. I was warrior, she said, but I disobeyed. Why? She looked at him. Because I saw truth. The war was not for honor. It was for power, for trade, for meat. Her voice shook. She looked away. They called me broken, she added, but I am not. No, Elias said. You're not. For a while, they sat in silence. The stars moved past the windows like rivers of light. Then the ship jerked. Lights flickered. An alarm screamed. Elias jumped to the console. We're locked. Tractor beam. Someone's pulling us in. Zura stood beside him, her claws ready. Who? He checked the radar. No ID. Wait, military code, but not human. Zura's face changed. Fire Clan. Before Elias could ask more, the ship stopped moving. A massive shadow appeared outside an alien cruiser. Dark red hull, sharp angles. Fire patterns glowing across its sides. A Fire Clan warship. They found me, Zura whispered. The ship's AI announced a forced docking. The hallway hissed as the side doors opened. Elias grabbed his blaster. Where? Not going out without a fight. But Zura stepped forward. Let me speak first. 3 figures entered. All were beast folk like Zura, tall, furred, armored. Their leader had gold armor and deep red eyes. He spoke in a rough voice. Zura, you live. I do, she replied calmly. And I am not yours. You were taken, sold. You brought shame to the clan. I refuse to kill the innocent. She said, that is not shame. That is honor. The leader's eyes narrowed. Then he looked at Elias. And this one? Human, you let him own you? No one owns me, Zura growled. He freed me. The leader stepped closer. His voice was low and cold. You will come back, or we will take you. The clan demands justice. Elias raised his weapon. She's not going anywhere unless she wants to. The guards aimed their blades. One stepped forward. Zura moved faster than lightning. With one twist, she blocked the blade, knocked the guard down, and placed her claws at the leader's throat. She didn't strike. She just stared into his eyes. I am not your property, she said. I am Zura of Fire and Stone. I walk my own path now. The leader hesitated. Then he raised a hand. The guard stepped back. We will remember this, he said. Good, Zura replied. I hope you do. The Fire Clan warriors turned and left without another word. A moment later, the tractor beam released. The cruiser faded into the stars. Elias slowly lowered his blaster. You could have killed him. Zura sat down, breathing hard. I could have. But I'm done killing for them. Elias looked at her, feeling both proud and worried. You just made some powerful enemies, he said. Zura looked out the window again. I've had worse. The old moon colony appeared like a ghost in the dark. Broken towers, half-buried domes, and long abandoned roads stretched across the gray surface. It had once been a mining station, rich in minerals, but now it was silent, forgotten by both humans and aliens. Elias guided the ship to a landing pad covered in dust. The engines hissed, steam rising in soft clouds. Zura stood beside him, her eyes watching every movement outside. No signs of life, Elias said. No energy readings. We'll be safe here for a while. Zura nodded, but her body stayed tense. Her ears twitched, picking up sounds even the ship couldn't hear. Too quiet, she whispered. They stepped out together, weapons ready. The air was thin but breathable with a mask. Zura didn't need one, her people were stronger, made for harsher worlds. Inside the main dome, they found old storage rooms, a working generator, and some emergency rations. Elias set up a small base in the control room. It wasn't home, but it was safe. For the next 2 days, they didn't speak much. Zura spent time outside, exploring the ruins, while Elias repaired a long-range scanner and tried to mask their ship's signal. They were free but hunted. That night, as Elias worked under the dim lights, Zura came in holding something in her hand, a strange silver coin covered in alien symbols. "Found this," she said. "It's fresh, not old." Elias took it. The metal was warm. "That means someone's been here recently." Zura's tail twitched. "Not Fire Clan. Different scent." "Then who?" Before she could answer, the power blinked. Then the lights went out. Elias grabbed his weapon. Zura was already crouched near the doorway, ready to move. In the silence, they both heard it, a soft clicking sound moving through the hallway. Not footsteps. Not metal. It was something else. Something. Crawling. Elias turned on his shoulder light and aimed it down the corridor. The beam caught a glimpse of movement, black skin, too many legs, and glowing blue eyes. Zura stepped in front of him, claws out. "Not natural," she said. "Not alive." The thing lunged at them. Elias fired. The bolt hit the creature's chest, but it didn't fall. It screeched, and more came from behind it. "Back!" Elias shouted. They retreated into the storage room, locking the metal door behind them. The creatures scratched and slammed, but the door held. "What are they?" Elias asked, breathing hard. Zura looked pale. "They were made bioweapons, forbidden things. My people used them long ago. Left them here when the mines closed. Why didn't the scanner pick them up?" "They have no heat," she said. "No heart, just hunger." The power flickered. Again, something had reached the generator. "We have to leave," Elias said, but Zura shook her head. "If we run now, they'll follow. They can track energy, movement, fear. Then what do we do?" She looked at him, eyes calm. "We fight." Elias stared at her for a moment, then nodded. "All right." They gathered supplies, grenades, flares, old mining lasers. Zura wrapped her hands in combat cloth and painted her face with ash. For the first time, Elias saw her not just as a survivor, but as a true warrior. They opened the door slowly. The hallway was dark. The creatures had stopped scratching. It was too quiet again. "Trap," Zura whispered. Elias nodded. "Let's set one of our own." They moved through the lower levels, placing traps, turning the power on and off to draw the creatures in. When the swarm came, they were ready. Grenades lit the halls with fire. Zura leaped through the air, claws slashing, her body moving with deadly grace. Elias covered her with sharp shots, burning each creature that got close. The fight lasted only minutes, but it felt like hours. When the last creature fell, silence returned. Real silence this time. Zura stood in the middle of the hallway, breathing hard, blood on her arms, glowing eyes locked on Elias. He stepped closer. "You all right?" She looked down at the bodies. "They were made to be weapons, like me." "You're more than that," Elias said quietly. "You made a choice." Zura looked at him, her voice soft. "And so did you." They stood there, side by side, among the ashes of war. But in that moment, they were not just fighters. They were survivors. Together. The moon colony was quiet again. Smoke floated in the hallways, and the broken bodies of the creatures lay still in the dust. Elias and Zura had survived the fight, but they knew more danger could come. Still, for now, they had won. Elias repaired the power system slowly, using old wires and broken panels. Zura helped without saying much. She cleaned the weapons, sharpened her claws, and watched the shadows. They worked as a team, without needing many words. Later that evening, they sat by the control room window. A soft orange glow from the dying sun shone through the cracked glass. Zura looked out at the ruins and then at Elias. "You saved me," she said. "I only gave you a choice," Elias replied. "You did the rest." Zura was quiet for a moment. Then she reached into a pouch on her belt and pulled out something. Small and old data crystal, black with silver marks. "This was hidden in my collar," she said. "I didn't know what it was until now." Elias took it carefully and plugged it into the console. The screen blinked and a file opened. It wasn't a weapon design or a map. It was a list: names, numbers, locations. "What is this?" Elias asked. Zura stood behind him. Her voice was steady. "It's a slave record. Thousands of names. Beast folk, humans, others. Sold and moved across systems. The Fire Clan leaders, my people, they were part of it. They used the war to cover their trade." Elias's jaw tightened. This is enough to bring them down." Zura looked at him. "But it's dangerous. If we send this out, we'll never be safe again." Elias looked at the screen. "You still want freedom?" She nodded. "More than anything. Then we show the galaxy the truth." He sent the files through an encrypted channel, one used by old resistance networks. It would take time, but once the data reached the right people, there would be no hiding it. As the transmission ended, Zura leaned against the wall, her arms crossed. "I thought I was alone," she said softly. "When they chained me, when they beat me, when they called me broken. I thought that was the end of my story." Elias stood and walked over to her. "It's not." She looked up at him. Her golden eyes were brighter than before. "Now what?" she asked. "We rebuild," Elias said. "We find others like you, like us, and we fight, not just to survive, but to live." Zura smiled, a real smile this time. Small but full of life. In the days that followed, they stayed on the moon, repairing the systems and turning the old colony into a place of shelter. A new signal was set up, one that could only be heard by those searching for safety. Message played every hour. "This is Haven. If you are hunted, broken, or lost, you are not alone anymore." They didn't know how many would hear it, but it was a start. One evening, as the stars lit up the sky, Zura sat beside Elias by a small campfire in the hangar. She looked different now, stronger, calmer, free. "Do you still think of farming?" she asked. Elias chuckled. "Yeah, one day." "Then maybe we build one here," she said. "A home." Elias looked at her, the firelight dancing in her eyes. He nodded slowly. "Yeah," he said. "Let's build something new." And as the fire warmed their faces and the wind whispered through the empty halls, they sat together in the silence, no longer beast and human, no longer soldier and slave, just two souls, free at last, writing the first lines of a new story together.